Greetings everyone, and welcome to Kaiju Movie Review and part 3 of our look at the Gamera series. Isn't it fantastic when you're watching a series of movies and everything seems to be going well, then all of a sudden everything just goes nuts? Well, sadly the movie I have for you just happens to be the one where the Gamera series gets crazy. I thought it'd be fair if I gave you guys a warning, so now on to the movie. This is Return of the Giant Monsters, also known as Gamera vs. Gauss, Giant Monster Midair Battle from 1967. When I went into this movie, I had the last two movies still in my mind. The first was pretty good, but not the best, but it wasn't a terrible start to the series. I thought the second one was better than the first. It was less wacky, but still a lot of fun. Then this beast started up, and right away I knew something was wrong. The movie immediately starts with a news broadcast covering a series of volcanic eruptions. Afterwards it cuts over to the Fujiyama volcano erupting and Gamera being drawn to it. A construction company is creating a new road system for Japan, but cannot finish because a group of villagers are holding out on selling their land to get more money. A man named Tutsumi is in charge of removing the villagers, but wants to wait for the scientists' report before continuing construction, as they are very close to Mount Fujiyama. A helicopter full of scientists surveying Fujiyama finds a large hole in the ground that lets off a green glow. Right as they're flying above the cave, rays begin to shoot from the mouth of it. The helicopter's cut in half by the beams, but no bodies are found at the wreckage. A reporter goes into the mountains to investigate this opening in the ground, but on his way he meets a noisy fat kid that leaves him inside the crevice. A tremor rocks the cave, causing it to collapse. The reporter runs out of the cave. Once outside, he is grabbed and eaten by a very large monster. The kid follows after him, and we get our very first look at the monster Gauss as it emerges from the opening in the ground. Gamera arrives to save the boy and is successful, but is injured during the battle. Gamera returns to the ocean to heal his wounds while the humans think of a way to deal with the threat of Gauss. At this point, it doesn't sound too over the top, but I have left certain things out, and most of the crazy stuff happens right after this point. But to be fair, I will give you one example of something weird from the end of the movie. Alright, you ready for this? A giant, rotating bird feeder filled with a blood-like substance. I just want to let you think about that one for a little while. I am going to assume that anyone watching this has already seen my past reviews on the Gamera series, because he hasn't changed. The only thing different is his obsessive need to save children. Since that is out of the way, we can talk about the epic new monster, Gauss. It's a large flying reptile said to have been sleeping dormant under the earth, but was awakened by the sudden outbreak of volcanic activity. The monster possesses some rather interesting abilities, being able to shoot a chemical that puts out fires, limited regeneration, and the ability to fire a beam that cuts through objects. I find the ray to be the most interesting, being that it's concentrated sound waves. In the film, they explain that Gauss has a split spinal cord, kind of like a tuning fork, that gives him the ability to create such strong sound waves. But it also explains why the monster can't turn its head from side to side. As for the regeneration, it seems to only happen when it's inside of the green glowing cave, so I'm not really sure what to think on that one. I'm pretty sure that Gauss is the only Gamera villain to appear many different times through all of his movies. I have always been a huge fan of Gauss, mainly his later incarnations, but all of them are good in my book. I guess I have always compared it to King Ghidorah in a way, not in terms of strength or design, but it's the closest thing Gamera movies had to him. Even though we get an awesome new monster, we get screwed on special effects. I don't know if it was a reduction in budget, or since the film was geared more towards children that they could half-ass the special effects so no one would really care. I mean, it's cool that they tried some different things with this movie, but a lot of the effects, new and old alike, just look worse when compared to the last film. Probably the most noticeable change was to the kaiju suits. They seem to have softened up Gamera a bit to make him more child-friendly, but he looks awful, and Gauss, despite his awesomeness, is just really stiff. Maybe I'm just being too hard on the movie. I have seen special effects a lot worse than these, but the change was too much going between this film and the last one, and it was just a real letdown. Okay, I have a few more things to mention before I wrap this thing up. The monster battles are better in this movie and considerably more violent than the last Gamera movie. And remember, these are aimed at children. Also, the English dub is terrible. The Japanese accents and the random English thrown in just come off as offensive. Some of the dialogue doesn't even make sense. They really didn't even care when they were dubbing this film. I really wish I had the Japanese version because the dub makes it almost unwatchable at times. Alright, enough of the negative crap. Let's look at some positives. Awesome monster combat, one of the best Gamera villains, decent special effects, and the pacing wasn't too bad either. Kaiju fans, watch it if you really want to see all of the Gamera series, or maybe just Gauss' first appearance. Anyone else? Show it to your kids if you got them. They'll probably enjoy it. 2 out of 5.